Okay, in this video, I'm going to go over how to create a short animation and then get all the settings right between how you set up your 3D model, the output settings, and then how to get back into the video editor, set that up, and render out your animation. Do this pretty quick. You can just take your cube and let's do a couple simple things to it just to make it look a little better. We'll put it into edit mode, grab one of the faces in face select, and let's add an insert. And you can kind of extrude that down, hit 2 to go into edge select, and let's scale that out. Just make it look like a little something different. Okay, so what I want you to do now is with the 3D cursor there, you can hit 7 on the number pad and get your straight up and down view. Go ahead and drop in a UV sphere. Let's scale it down just a little bit until it's about halfway inside. Just to give you a couple extra tips in the video. With that selected, shift select the box, hit your spacebar, type in boo for bool tool, and we'll go down to difference and go ahead and knock out a hole in the bottom of this cube. So at this point, all you'll really have to do is come down here. Let's pull this up. You should automatically already have your timeline here, but if you don't, under this box, it's editor type, so you would just go in here and pull up timeline if it wasn't. And if that's not there at all, let's just say this area isn't showing up and you've got this kind of messed up somehow. You come down here to the double arrow, horizontal split, and drop that in. It's probably going to be default to the 3D viewport. Then you can come over here, drop in timeline, and now you'll be able to see what you're doing, which is important because you got to add keyframes. So I'm just going to make this box scale. So right here, I'm going to insert a scale, and I tapped I to get there. So I'm selecting my box, and I'm going to hit scale. And what it did is it dropped in a keyframe. So real quick, I'm just going to go out to 60, and I'm going to adjust this to 60 frames, which when I go over here, and we're kind of doing a few things at one time, but you'll need to be able to do that anyways as you get more advanced. So in my output settings, which are right here, is output properties, I'm going to go to 30 frames a second, which is kind of beginning to be the new standard. It used to be like 24. You could do 25 if you want. It's fine. It's going to just, like, when you learn more, you'll be able to figure out what you want for your playback. And now I will scale this box down very far. And I'll hit I and scale again. And now these points have been added. And I can just hit play. And this thing is just going to loop. And there are other ways to clean this up and kind of make it look a little better. What we're going to do is drag the world. You can pause that. Don't need that going on in the background. Hit your little world icon here. Go into the color. And, well, actually, so you can see what's going on. First, jumping ahead here. Been doing this for a little while, so let's jump. Why aren't you working? Okay, there we go. So now I'm in actual material properties, and I want to get into my lighting, scene lights, scene world, select those. So now you're just using whatever lights are in here. And I do have a light. I don't even see where it's at. I'm going to delete that light. That's probably stuck in the middle somewhere. So just anywhere on your screen, left click and drop to your 3D cursor, come down to light, and let's add a sun. And now from here you can tap R and kind of move this around to get the shadows right. And in order for that to look somewhat normal, you can GZ and kind of bring it above the grid. let's do a Shift S and bring cursor to world origin. And from here, I want to just drop in a plane. Doesn't have to be anything special. I want to be able to see my shadows. And if you want to get even fancier, you can do snap face, project individual elements, tap, get the box, tap G. It's not going to work. There we go. Okay, so what we're doing is going to face select just to get that box right where it should be. And these shadows are terrible, so real quick, we can go through the color management. Actually, don't worry about that. That's the Eevee engine. We're not going to go through all that right now. We can go down to color management and go for look, and we can go to high contrast. And this would actually end up being in the rendered view. So if you're in here, you'll see your shadows sharpen up quite a bit, and there's a big difference. And I do other videos on that. And exposure, we can go to 1. Right? Kind of like how the exposure on 1 usually brightens it up to what I want. I always model things a little brighter than usual, unless I'm doing like my game room scene. And that course is actually available on my Gumroad for just $29.95, and I discount it sometimes, so you can check that out and catch a sale. But just for the purposes of getting the instant render, which is under the material properties, is always Eevee engine, and it'll kind of render it instantly as we go. You know what? Let's just do it. I'm going to go into the Eevee real quick by going into render properties. And let's just go in and click ambient occlusion, screen space reflections, and let's get these shadows fixed, because these shadows are horrible. It's just bugging me too much. I can't do it. So go to Cascade and you go all the way up to 4096, and you see how that sharpens up? You've got to tell Blender what to do with those shadows so that it's going to look a lot better. Let's see if I bring the cube size up as well. Don't lock up, Blender. Don't do it. All right, it's freaking out on me right now. I'm going to bring that back down. If you've got a better machine, and I am about to upgrade, then you can do a lot more. Okay, so real quick, got this. Our animation is working. You can see the shadows as this thing disappears. Let's kind of scan out. Okay, I'm glad this happened, because that is a massive cube. Let's see if scaling helps this any. I'm gonna come back to here. I may scale it myself. Let's apply scale. Nope, so my original point where this cube is starting out, if you were to actually look, you can see its dimensions. It's 2 meters by 2 meters by 2.16 meters, and 3 feet or so is a meter. So that is a massive cube. It's a lot bigger than my plane. And in order to get that right, all I really have to do is just select the plane, scale it up a little bit. And if you want to make all this to scale, you can do that. That's another matter altogether. I did snap that, and I probably should have snapped that in frame 1. And so snap is technically still on, and it almost did it. So I'm just going to do this manually, because the purpose of this is to get you through a short animation. And hopefully less than 20 minutes, that's the goal. Okay, so let's run this real quick. And so you can see differences between things. You can go back to your solid view and just come down here to random, or you can add some kind of like crazy metcap if you want to. This one, a lot of people love this one because it's more high contrast. Personally, I like sticking with my random. It's kind of old school, like the old school Blender view for me. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this real quick. Make sure